To the nobles, he was a thief and a traitor. But to the common folk, he was the only justice in a world choked by the tyranny of the law of the jungle. This is the story of how a single wooden bow shook the very foundations of the English throne. The legend of Robin Hood is no rigid tale. It is a mosaic crafted from the footprints of history, folk mythology, and centuries of social evolution. To fully grasp his essence, one must view him as a figure of many faces. From a historical lens, evidence suggests that Robin Hood was, in all likelihood, a man of flesh and blood who walked the soil of England. Ancient records trace his origins to Yorkshire, specifically Locksley, around the year 1160. Unlike modern portrayals that often cast him as a displaced nobleman, early accounts depict him as a man embroiled in a real rebellion against oppressive powers. His existence is anchored by physical landmarks, such as a grave at Kirklees Priory, where an ancient inscription marks the final resting place of the legendary archer. Robin's followers, known as the Merry Men, were far more than mere supporting characters. They were a representation of the various strata of English society that felt discarded or wronged by the feudal system and the corrupt law of the jungle. Here are the key members and the social symbolism behind their presence. Little John, the representation of labor and the commoner. Despite his name, he was a giant of a man and a formidable warrior. Little John represents the skilled working class, those who possessed great talent but found no justice. Often portrayed as Robin's most loyal second-in-command and his practical superior in wit, he stands as proof that the strength of the people, when unified, can rival the might of any official army. Friar Tuck, a critique of ecclesiastical corruption. A jovial, rotund friar with a love for food and a mastery of the sword and staff. His presence was crucial. In the Middle Ages, the church held immense political wealth and was often seen as corrupt. Tuck represents faith of the people, a monk who chose to defend the poor in the greenwood rather than serve wealthy bishops in gilded cathedrals. He is the symbol of sincere faith stripped of oppressive formality. Will Scarlet, the youth and the victim of the law depicted as a stylish young man, often clad in red, and a master swordsman. In many versions, Will is a young noble disinherited or a fugitive, driven to the forest after slaying an oppressive forest warden. He embodies the fiery indignation of youth against a system that smothers their future. Alan Adale, the artist and the oral tradition. A minstrel who joined the fray after Robin helped him rescue his true love. Alan was the group's public relations engine. In an age where information traveled through song and verse, he represented the power of narrative. It was he who transformed Robin's acts of defiance into legends that inspired a nation. Without Alan, Robin's struggle would be dismissed as mere banditry rather than a heroic movement. Much the miller's son. The vulnerability of the poor one of the oldest members in the original ballads, Much represents the common folk most vulnerable to famine. His decision to join Robin's outlaws demonstrates that the peasantry would sooner become fugitives than endure the theft of their food and dignity by a cruel and predatory law. The legend of Robin Hood is far more than a series of simple thefts. It is a profound, systemic conflict between oppressive legal authority and the fundamental human right to survive. This struggle ignited within the boundaries of the forest, a realm that, in the Middle Ages, served as the stage for a fierce ideological battlefield. The first conflict erupted over the forest laws. On one side stood the king and his sheriffs, who viewed the woods as an exclusive private treasury. Every branch of timber and every deer was a royal asset, protected by sanctions of unspeakable cruelty, where a commoner might face blindness or death for a single transgression. Yet for Robin Hood and the common folk, these laws were nothing more than legalized injustice. Here lay the heart of the strife. Is it righteous to obey a law that mandates starvation? Robin Hood chose to become an outlaw to defend a higher morality. By hunting the king's deer to feed the famished, he declared open war against the ruling class's monopoly on the earth's resources. Beneath the surface lay a deeper social conflict regarding the dignity of man. The feudal system of the age demanded that the peasantry bow to the nobility based solely on bloodline, regardless of how tyrannical that nobility might be. Robin Hood sparked a rebellion against this world order by forging the community of the merry men upon the foundation of meritocracy. Within the emerald shadows of the forest, a man's status was forged by his skill with a bow and his loyalty to his brothers, not by a hollow title. The physical duels that preceded the recruitment of his men, such as his legendary clashes with Little John and Friar Tuck, were the living proof of this conflict. Robin sought to demonstrate that strength and honor must be earned through prowess, never merely bestowed by office or birthright. Ultimately, this is the tension between the reach of government power and the sanctity of individual freedom. Through his longbow, Robin Hood delivered a resounding message. When the law ceases to serve humanity, rebellion becomes a moral obligation. Sherwood Forest was never merely a hiding place. It was a sanctuary where the law of the people triumphed over the law of the tyrant. In closing, the grand narrative of Robin Hood, woven from the threads of history, mythology, sociology, and cultural heritage, leads us to one singular conclusion. Robin Hood is not merely an individual but an undying symbol of social justice. Though debates may rage over his true identity, whether he was a dispossessed nobleman, a rebel of the middle class, or a personification of the forest spirits in folk festivals, the essence of his presence remains unshakable. He stands as the ultimate answer to the systemic injustice represented by the suffocating laws of the forest and the insatiable greed of the powerful. This legend proves that a story can possess a power more real than historical fact itself. The tale of Robin Hood remains relevant today because it speaks to a universal human longing that transcends time. The belief that the law must be just and that the weak must never be left to stand alone against tyranny. His grave may lie at Kirklees, and his footprints may be embedded in the soil of Sherwood. Yet his spirit endures wherever there is resistance against oppression. Robin Hood is the living proof that true heroes never die. They merely change their form to meet the needs of the age that gives them birth.